Come on in, you guys. Welcome to the show. This is the ARROYO Show. My name is Brandon Arroyo. If it's your first time here, please give it a thumbs up and a subscribe. What a guest we have for you today. You can see her portraying the role of Kate in Netflix's new sci-fi drama, The One, officially released for streaming today. Please welcome Zoe Tapper. How are you, Zoe?
Hello. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Could not be better. It's a wonderful Friday afternoon, and you've given us some of your time today because I know that you are just so ready to jump over to Netflix and check out this show.
I know. Well, I have actually seen the show already, so I may have to sit down for a second viewing, but I'm excited for everybody else to see it too.
That's the beauty of Netflix, though, right? Is that you can go back and watch this, and many people do several times over. That little binge watch effect.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially, I don't know what it's like where you are, but we're in our third lockdown in the UK, and people have been sort of saying things like they've completed Netflix and they're going back and starting again. So I think people do go back and watch it. So hopefully they'll do the same with The One.
Well, that's definitely a good sign that people, have seen some of it already and are like, you know what, let me go ahead and check a little bit more of it out. And it's an exciting day for you. It's a little bit different to release during quarantine versus, the red carpets that you have been to in the past for releases. What does a release day look like for you during quarantine as opposed to a normal type of release day?
Yeah, there's not quite so much fanfare, of course. Usually you would have some sort of screening beforehand. You would possibly have, in-person interviews and photo shoots. Whereas obviously we're sort of all stuck at home. But it means that I've been doing lots and lots of lovely Zoom calls with lovely people like you, and getting a bit more to grips with technology, which is about time because I'm not so good at it. So it's been a funny one, really. It feels like a very different thing as well, because of course we're about 5 o'clock in the evening here. So, right. People watch TV at different times of the day, depending on what they're up to. And I'm already getting messages from people who've already started to watch it, but I'm thinking that maybe everyone will sit down tonight and over the weekend, and hopefully everyone will join in and start following our journey.
Yeah, and it's going to be an exciting one. I mean, people will have the opportunity to have some new content, which I think a lot of us are just starved for at this point. Just give us something new to watch on television and on Netflix, because we've watched so many of the same things over and over again because there's been a lot of time inside over the last couple months.
I know. And, we were really lucky in the sense that we finished this just before we went just before the pandemic hit. And so we were blissfully unaware that anything was about to happen. And so to a certain extent, I sit down and watch it now, and it feels like I can't remember it. It feels like it was a different time. It was a distant dream somehow, because it just so much has happened since.
Right. And we talked about or you had just mentioned rather that this happened in almost a completely different world when this was recorded. Over a year ago, you guys finished. And a big part of this series is based around love and technology. You all could have never known how big a part of daily life video chatting technology would become just a few months after filming. Do you think that changes the film at all for the viewer, that some of the science fiction is now reality? We're living some of it.
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. I think if anything, it brings it closer to home in a weird way. I mean, I suppose people are used to these days meeting people online, but this whole kind of surge in the need to connect with people via Zoom and via our computers has just taken us all by surprise. And yeah, we do show some of that in the show. And I suppose what I quite like in a way is that it sort of is, despite it being a sci-fi based show, it is a fictional show. It does make it feel like it's quite plausible. It doesn't feel like something that possibly couldn't happen. It feels like it's a very real possibility.
Right. Well, a single strand of hair is all that it takes. Love and lives will spiral as DNA researchers help discover a way to find the perfect partner in this new sci-fi crime drama. The One is available now on Netflix. So we see that Kate took the dive and tried the matchmaking process. If you could go back to, say, 18 or 19, would you give the single strand of hair, Zoe? Or would you prefer to experience the whole dating scene? I think technology would take away some of that fun of the cute dates with new people.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I was 18 or 19, but I'd like to think that I wouldn't take the test. I'm sort of quite an old school romantic, and I think that by just instantly knowing who your soulmate might be would take away some of that, I don't know, magic almost, the element of chance. And in some ways, especially when you're younger, I think some of those more complicated or messy encounters are actually what shape us and help to teach us what we are looking for in a partner. So I think I would try and avoid it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the fact that you don't necessarily know is this 100% the right person or not when you first start dating is kind of some of the magic of it. Is, it could go away, it might not, it might be right. Let's find out.
Yeah, and who's to say there aren't many people who could possibly be the one. That's the joy of life. We meet so many people, and there might be more than one out there for you.
And I think that that's part of the beauty of the character that you were portraying. I mean, Kate is a character that has a large spectrum of depth to her, from the vulnerability of trying to build a relationship to the hard-nosed life of a detective. How did you find the process of bringing this character to life, and how would Zoe describe Kate?
Yeah, I liked that. I really like the fact that you sort of see her professional facade and you see the more personal side to her. And what's nice is when you first start watching the show, you're introduced to her as her. You see her having just taken the test, having been matched with a woman who lives in another country. So already there's a little bit of a complication there. But you see a sort of real warmth to her. You see that she's somebody who is at peace with who she is. She knows her own mind. And actually then you cut to her in a more professional format in her role as a detective inspector. So I love the challenge of showing both sides of her personality. And from my perspective, she's somebody who is very grounded, very self-sufficient. She's career-driven. She's ambitious, and she knows what she wants. And I like that. I like the fact that she's not a tortured soul. You often see detectives depicted on television as kind of tortured souls, but she's kind of satisfied with her life, but she's just missing that one element of a partner to share it with. But unfortunately for her in this series, it's that element that starts to further complicate things.
Zoe Tapper's on the line with us right now. The One is officially available on Netflix. Let's talk about this cast because, like you said, it was filmed in a different world than we're in right now. What was the atmosphere like on set working with Hannah and Dimitri and the wonderful cast that you guys had put together for this show?
Yeah, it was a great cast. And funnily enough, it feels, the filming of it, looking back in hindsight, feels a little bit like how we're in our sort of little bubbles now, because my character was very much in a bubble with just a few of the cast members. So I worked very closely with Greg Chillian, who plays Nick, my sort of sidekick. And I worked closely with the sort of Spanish contingent, the lovely woman who plays my match in the show, Yana Perez, and Eduardo, plays her brother. So I had a sort of little bubble of characters that I into all the time. And then Hannah, who plays Rebecca, and Dimitri were kind of in a different bubble. And actually, we sort of saw each other on the makeup bus and in the canteen at lunchtime. But actually, our paths didn't cross that much on set. And so in the odd scene that they did, there's a lovely scene with Dimitri where I go and sort of interrogate him. And it's one of the only scenes that I really have with him. And I loved that scene because he was kind of a new person to play with. And likewise with Hannah, I only really got to film my scenes with her at the very end of the shoot. So by the time I got to meet her and properly work with her, we were so excited to work with each other. So it was really interesting in that respect.
And it got you prepared for a little bit of a bubble because over the next year, we would all be in kind of our own little bubbles. What did the last year look like for you? How did you keep yourself busy during quarantine? What did you have any new hobbies that you found out that you didn't like before that you were like, I'll pick this up now?
Well, I don't know if you can call it a hobby, but certainly the new thing I learned was how to be a teacher to my children.
All right, as we begin to wind down the interview, we have something called the Final Five. They are the last 5 questions of the interview, and they're all about where you are right now. So the first question is, Who do you speak with the most on a daily basis right now?
Well, that would be my husband and my 2 little children.
What item do you use each day other than your phone?
Well, my earpods, actually, because I'm a total podcast addict. And whenever
yes.
I'm on my own, I've got them in my ear and I walk around with them and listen to other people's worlds and get totally immersed in them.
When did you know that you wanted to pursue acting full time?
Yes, I wanted to be I think I realized I wanted to be an actor around the age of 13. I don't think before then I don't think I was actually aware that that was something you could do for a living. None of my family are involved in the industry. So I joined this amateur dramatic society locally and I played a fairy in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I caught the bug, and that was my entry into this crazy world.
It's amazing how performing in the theater can really give you that bite of, yep, this is what I want to do. It really will, even not that working on television won't, but theater really gives you that drive.
Well, it gives you such an adrenaline buzz, and that's addictive. It really is, and you sort of search for that forevermore in your career.
2 questions left. Where is your dream vacation?
Oh my goodness me! Quite frankly, at the moment, since being in lockdown for a year, anywhere other than my own front door would be wonderful. There are so many places I'd love to visit, but I guess I always gravitate back towards Italy as a place that I've always loved to visit. And I just love the food. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the romance. It's such a beautiful place.
Final question. How do you define success?
I don't know. I think it's almost impossible to define success. I think everybody has a different definition. I guess in my own life, I do find fulfillment in my career. I'm glad I've got a profession that I love. And I also get huge fulfillment from the relationships I have in my life with my friends and my family. That I suppose they make me feel successful in that way. But also maybe a second series of The One. That would be nice. I'd feel successful if it went for another series.
Yes, I'll keep my fingers crossed for it. Let's keep it going. Let's keep The One rolling. You can see her portraying the role of Kate in Netflix's new sci-fi drama, The One. It is officially out on Netflix today. Please welcome and thank you for joining us, Zoe Tapper. It has been a privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.